Video is on writing equations in slope-intercept form. We want to write the equation in slope-intercept form, and then we want to state what are the slope and y-intercept. Right now, these problems are in standard form. We want to convert them into slope-intercept form so that we can easily distinguish what the slope is and what the y-intercept is, so that we could easily graph it by hand. In order to put this into slope-intercept form, we must remember what slope-intercept form looks like, which is y equals mx plus b. We want to make sure we isolate the y from our original form by solving equations by using SADMAP, or order of operations backwards. So we want to add or subtract first, then we want to divide or multiply away, then get rid of any exponents, and then get rid of anything inside the parentheses. So if I want to solve for this, I will probably just highlight my y so I know I don't want to touch my y. Now in order to start solving for this, I want to add or subtract away from the y. The 2 is multiplied to the y, so I can't touch that yet. But the 3x, if I leave that together, because we know we want something with our x, I can move this away because this is added to the 2y. So in order for me to move the 3x to the other side, I would subtract 3x from both sides. I would be left with 3x minus 3x is 0. This combines to 0. I'd have a positive 2y left over equals my 18 minus 3x. 18 does not have a variable with it, so I am not allowed to actually combine these to simplify them. This will just become 18 minus 3x. Now this is not in the same format, but that's okay, because we can still easily distinguish what the slope and the y-intercept is. Now my y is still not completely alone. I still have the 2 multiplied to it. So in order to undo multiplication, I do the inverse. I will divide both sides by 2. And when we divide everything by 2, not just part of it. We divide all parts by 2. 2y divided by 2 is 1y. So we'd have y. And I did not divide by the y here because I never touched the y. I never want to divide by that variable because that's one I want alone. Then I'll have my equal sign. Then positive 18 divided by positive 2 is a positive 9. Then we have a negative 3x divided by 2 is a negative 3 halves x. Now that y is by itself, we do have it in slope-intercept form. We can rewrite this to make it look exactly like y equals mx plus b. This is slope-intercept form, just in a different version of it. We can rewrite this to have our slope aspect first, and then our y-intercept aspect second. So if we rewrite this, we'd have y equals, we have a negative 3 halves x, so the signs that are with the numbers must stay with them because they are connected to them. They're not, this 9 is not negative, so we cannot make it negative. We have a negative 3 halves times x, and then we have a positive 9, so we want to put plus 9. This form in red is now the same form that I have over here. Y equals number times x plus a constant. So that's the first step. Write the equation in slope-intercept form. Then it asks what are the slope and the y-intercept. The slope is the coefficient of the x. It would be the m connected to the x. So the coefficient is negative 3 over 2. Our slope is change in y over change in x, so it's just the number. The y-intercept comes from the constant of our equation. So our constant is 9, but the y-intercept is a coordinate. The coordinate is the y value, so we want to write out a coordinate of 0, comma, positive 9. Please remember that y-intercept is a coordinate. You must write it as a coordinate, otherwise it's just a constant, and it doesn't really tell you that it's a y-intercept. It just gives you a number. So we now have it in slope-intercept form, so we can easily distinguish what the slope is and what the y-intercept is. From this form that I had it in originally, or in the pink, I apologize, I still have my 9 as my constant because it is not multiplied to the x. It is still the constant. And my negative 3 over 2 is still the coefficient of the x. So either form that I have it in, I can still easily distinguish the slope and the y-intercept. The original form was standard form. This does not easily determine the slope and y-intercept, but you can put it into slope-intercept form so you can distinguish the two parts. On this next question, we're going to do the same thing. We want to isolate the y, so we want to use SADMAP. We want to add or subtract first. So then 5 is multiplied to the y, so I can't touch that yet. But the 7x is, technically it's a positive, so this is added to this side. I want to subtract the 7x from both sides of the equation, from both sides of the equal sign. So 7x minus 7x is 0. I did not touch the negative 5y equals 35 minus 7x cannot combine because 35 does not have the exact same variable. So we would have 35 minus 7x. Now that I have the y being only multiplied to a number, we can divide to do the inverse of multiplication. We're going to divide everything by whatever is multiplied to the y. Negative 5 is being multiplied to the y, so we divide everything by negative 5. Negative 5y divided by negative 5 is a positive 1y, so that's y equals. Positive 35 divided by negative 5 is negative 7. A negative 7x divided by a negative 5 is a positive 7/5 x. And again, we can rewrite this. This is in slope-intercept form. It's just slightly backwards. You can still easily identify the slope and y-intercept. But to put it into y equals mx plus b, we will just rearrange it. We want to keep the y equals. We need our slope, so our coefficient is a positive 7/5 times our x. And then our constant is a negative 7, so we have minus 7. Now that we have it into this form, or the one before it, you can still easily identify the coefficient and the constant. So our slope is the coefficient. The coefficient is the number multiplied to the x. So that is a positive 7/5. That means our change in y over change in x. Our y-intercept comes from our constant, which was a negative 7. On both these forms, we can see that the constant that is not multiplied to a variable is negative 7. That means that our coordinate is 0, negative 7. Please remember that the y-intercept is when the x value is 0, and it's the coordinate when the x value is 0 and whatever the y value is, where the graph crosses the y-axis. This is how you convert it into slope-intercept form so that you can easily identify what the slope and the y-intercept are.